And we are pleased to have with us Representative Steve Walko of Greenwich. And we should say that Steve is a newbie. This is his first wrap-up of a session, or first session for that matter.
That's right, that's right.
Is it what you expected?
There's probably
not that there's any real way to know what to expect, except to talk to some of your colleagues. Livy Florin could certainly give you the QT.
And they did. It's probably as much time as I thought. The inconsistency or the not knowing when a meeting is going to be called or not called is probably the one thing that has taken me the most getting used to.
Being a Republican, of course, sometimes you're the odd man or party or whatever out in decisions that get made, of course. Majority for the Democrats in the House and the Senate, and of course, Democratic governor. How did that feel to you, coming from Greenwich, where typically the Republicans rule? Right.
Well, interesting choice of words sometimes. I'd like to know those times that we're not the odd man out. But it was a learning experience, and it continues to be a learning experience. And so I think more so than being in the minority, it's more not having a grasp of all of the things that come before you, from mattresses to bed bugs to public health to transportation, and you really have to get up to speed extremely quickly on a whole variety of issues, state issues, educational issues, that when you're working with municipality, you can really drive down on one issue. Here it's just because it's good for Greenwich, it might not be good for Bridgeport, and so how do you weigh those two issues and come up with something that's good for the state, even if it might not be good for Greenwich or even if it might not be good for Bridgeport?
No, you're exactly right. And in this case, this session being what it was kind of a half and half session. First half was the gun control bill, basically, and then you were left to jam everything else in the second half of this session.
That's right.
A lot of work to be done in not a lot of time.
That's right. And again, even gun control could be good for what I consider my constituents and what they're telling me, and yet is it good for the state overall? And so that's been also something that you really have to ratchet up here, as opposed to a municipality where you can pretty much tell what the general consensus is within the town.
Well, and also it was a bipartisan effort for the gun control aspect. So everybody came together there to pass that. Everybody felt pretty good about it after all was said and done, and there was some bickering here and there, but it all came together. But then you come into the rest of the session, and then everybody's got their interest going, and it's a whole different ball of wax.
That's right. There's a big philosophical difference on many of these bills, and it's not that the other side of the aisle doesn't care. They care just as much of the state as I care about the state. They come at it from a different approach. They have different constituencies, and so you hope to work things out, knowing though that some bills they think are not good bills, and there are some bills that I don't think are good bills. And so you try to hopefully balance it out, do what you can.
Well, for everybody who had been around for a while, this year's budget was done differently. The federal funds got put on the side, so the budget cap was not reached, and so it was done quite differently. For you, that was just the way it is. That's the first time it was done.
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, you can look at it that it's new to me, so it's the only thing that I know. Conversely, though, there was a pact that was made with the citizens back in '91 with the income tax. And that pact was we would curb spending, and we would have a spending cap. And changing the rules of the game to get over that spending cap, I don't think is keeping in the spirit, at the very least, with the pact that was made with the citizens in '91. And so being a third generation Connecticut citizen, I think that pact was violated.
One of the things I know that you did approve of the Moore Commission's findings, and that's a busy and a very positive thing for lots of communities around the state.
That's correct. I don't think it necessarily applies to Fairfield County, however. In Fairfield County, we have a robust regional planning committee that's worked well, and so I'm not sure there needed to be any change relative to Fairfield County. They receive about $13,000. That seems to be sufficient. And adding hundreds of thousands of dollars to that planning, to me, is not the best use of money relative to where we are with our economy these days.
A lot of other areas are getting efficiencies and so forth that don't necessarily apply to Greenwich and the area. Hey, we want to thank you very much. Congratulations. Only a few more hours to go, and you can breathe a sigh of relief, I suspect.
Outstanding.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Steve Walko with us from Greenwich, and we've got more coming up as we are in Hartford. I'm David Smith with Meet the Leaders. Be right back.